Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about my 7-year project pan journey, lessons I've learned along the way, why I still project pan, kind of how I got into it, and how I've changed my techniques and ideas on it along the way. And yeah, I do a lot of project pans and shop my stash on my channel. If you want to see the actual project pan videos, check out the project pan playlist, which I will link. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to kind of share, and I hope that you guys share your thoughts on project panning as well in the description box. If you are new, please subscribe. Like I said, my channel is kind of about old and new makeup. I like to do a little bit of both, and I like to try new things, but I try not to buy too much at once. And if you are interested in the makeup that I'm wearing, I will list it in the description box as usual. But if you want to see this look, I did film this. It was a members exclusive video, a full face of nothing new. I do have a channel membership option. There are 2 tiers. The first tier is for 1 exclusive video a month, and the second tier is for 2 exclusive videos. You can click the join button if you want to know more about that. It's completely optional though, of course, but if you are interested, you can check that out. And yeah, let's get into this video. I started project panning over 7 years ago, and it's kind of interesting how it started. It was at a time where I'd gone through a lot of stress that time, and I hadn't really been wearing that much makeup in kind of like the 9 months to 1 year before that. I kind of discovered the project pan community, and I had been really into makeup since about 2008 when I discovered YouTube. And I really didn't get into makeup until I was an adult. I was 23 at the time. Before that, I wore very minimal makeup. I was always interested in it, but I didn't really know what products to apply or how to apply it. And so when I discovered YouTube around 2008, that's when things really changed for me. And slowly I started buying more and more makeup. And yeah, and then 7 years ago, which was 2015, like I said, I hadn't been wearing that much makeup, and I just kind of decided I wanted to get back into it, and I started watching YouTube again, and I came across project pan videos and declutter videos. And before that, I was kind of a makeup hoarder. Like, I never decluttered my makeup, like, ever. I had lipsticks, even mascaras that were 5-10 years old. I know. I pretty much never got rid of something until it was completely empty or very, very obviously expired. So this kind of like opened the door for me, and because I realized I had so much older makeup, I went through it. I got rid of some stuff that was super like gross and old, and then I decided, you know what, I want to try this project panning thing. I want to see if I can finish up some of these items because I was getting into it again, and I wanted to buy some new stuff, but I realized I still had so much older makeup that I hadn't used up or hit pan on. And it just kind of went from there. I just started doing it on my own. I came up with project pans. I just like wrote the stuff down, tried to finish them up. It wasn't until a few years later that I started my Instagram and started documenting the process there. And then now for well over 4 years, I've been documenting on YouTube as well. And it's kind of interesting that it kind of started for me at a time where I was getting back into makeup, but I just realized I had so much older makeup that I hadn't even used enough. So my purpose at that time was to get use out of the older stuff so that I felt a bit more justified buying some newer products. And I also wanted to really get my money's worth out of these older items that I'd had for almost 10 years. And particularly in the year prior, as I mentioned, I really wasn't wearing that much makeup. So it was a fun way for me to get back into makeup because I also started wearing a full face of makeup every day. And part of that motivation was that I wanted to finish these items in my project pan. So I had like full face items, foundation, concealer, blush, all of that. And it was a really fun way for me to get back into wearing makeup every day. And I enjoy wearing makeup. I do it for fun, not because I have to or anything like that. I enjoy the process and I enjoy the creative outlet behind it. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it. I was getting back into makeup. I was using the stuff I already had. And once you start finishing things and hitting pan, it's exciting. It's almost like, ooh, like I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. I want to see the progress. It's just really, really fun. And then I did start buying makeup again, and I started to buy some newer stuff on the market, and it was just a really, really good time. Now, there were some times in these years where I did get a little too excited and I bought too much. 2020 was a year where the stress of the world, like a lot of us, I definitely bought a lot of makeup. I don't totally regret it. It was maybe a bit of a coping mechanism at the time. And so now I've been trying to do low buys. This year I've been on a low buy where I'm just trying not to buy too much. Like I said, I still want to try new products, but I want to use the ones I already have as well. So at this point, I'm still project panning because I still want to use things up. I want to get my money's worth out of the makeup that I already have. Luckily, at this point, I don't have as old of makeup as I did in 2015 when I first started project panning. Most of my makeup now is from the last like 2 to 4 years, so I feel better about it that way. And now, I mean, if something is really not working for me, I do declutter it, but I also don't want to declutter just to declutter. That was a period I got into when I started watching a lot of declutter videos where things kind of went overboard for me, and I ended up decluttering some things I kind of regretted at a certain point. So decluttering is something I try to be very careful of. I definitely want to make sure I'm really not going to use the item or miss it if I'm going to get rid of it, just because those past decluttering mistakes that I made. Some of the things that have changed along the way for me is like, for a while I was really into removing stoppers, and then for a while I didn't. And now I'm kind of back into that if I can get the stopper out easily, you know, like out of lip glosses or concealers. If it's just not working, I don't want to like cut my hand trying to remove the stopper, but most of the time now I do. Also, for a while, I didn't repress my makeup when I was getting close to the end. I would just kind of crush it up and use it as a loose powder. But in the last few years, I've started to repress, and it helps a lot actually, and it makes it easier to use things up. So that's something I really enjoy doing. I do have a video on how I repress makeup that will be in the description box if you want to see that. I use a very, very easy method. And yeah, those are some of the things that have kind of changed along the way. Another big one that has changed is I don't try to pan eyeshadows anymore. So when I first started project panning in 2015, all the way through, I think 2019, I was trying to hit pan and use up as many eyeshadows as possible. And I was even doing pan that palette. I never finished like a full palette, but I was just trying to hit pan on as many shadows as possible. And again, that's something I've decided that I don't want to do. And the main reason for that is that I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes now, and part of that is because I've been fortunate enough to receive some in PR in the last 2 years. And so reviewing eyeshadows is kind of something I enjoy doing on my channel. So I do want to be able to try different brands and formulas. So since that is kind of like part of my hobby is reviewing different eyeshadow brands and palettes, I don't try to hit pan on eyeshadows. I just want to rotate through the palettes that I already have and just enjoy my collection. So that's why I don't try to hit pan on eyeshadows anymore. I have over 100 palettes, and I am okay with that because the rest of my makeup inventory numbers are very low. I posted my latest makeup inventory, I think it was about a month ago, and a lot of my categories are fairly small or on the what I would call medium size, except for eyeshadow palettes. I have a lot, and like I said, I'm okay with that because that's kind of part of my hobby, and I just want to use what I have, older palettes, newer palettes. I just want to wear whatever makeup I want that day, particularly eyeshadow. And so I do try to finish up blush, concealer, powder, lip products, all of that, but eyeshadows I don't. I am doing the Project 100 Uses, which I did start based on Too Much Tosh's 100 Club, where I have picked several palettes that are like my absolute favorites that I know I'll probably never hit pan on, never finish, but I want to get to 100 uses and more. So I'm focusing more on usage when it comes to eyeshadows. I'm focusing on shopping my stash, using older palettes, and trying to get to 100 uses on a lot of my favorites. But beyond that, I am not trying to pan eyeshadow anymore. And I think that's key to project panning is you got to do what works for you. You know, don't do it if you're not enjoying it. And it got to the point where I was not enjoying panning eyeshadow. It wasn't something I wanted to do For me, makeup is supposed to be fun, so if I'm forcing myself and not enjoying it, then it's totally pointless. Makeup is supposed to be something enjoyable, therefore I don't want to do that. So I also don't try to hate pan things. If it's something I really hate or if it's breaking me out, no, I'm just going to get rid of it. If it's like an okay product that I can make work, then I do that. I do that a lot for foundations and concealers. If I don't love the formula, sometimes I mix it with other items, or if the shade is a little bit off, I can mix like a concealer with a foundation or two foundations together and make it work. So when it's a situation like that with my project pan items, I do try to do what I can to kind of, make it work. Something else I've tried to remember is that a lot of items may look different in the pan, may look different in the packaging, but when you put it on your face, it looks the same as like 5 other things I have. So I'm trying to remember that. I'm trying not to buy like too many dupes of products so that I don't have a million of like the same lipstick or the same lip gloss in my collection. I used to do that in the past. Lip products is where I've really decreased those numbers compared to several years ago, because I just realized I can just layer different lip products together, like mix 2 glosses together, do lip liner, lipstick, lip gloss, and change it up that way. I don't need to own like 100 different lipsticks. So for me, lip products is something I've really been able to cut down on because of project panning and shopping my stash. Something else I've learned is that it seems obvious, but there was a time where I didn't really think about this, and that is that cream products expire much faster than powder makeup products. So in 2015, when I first started project panning, and I also did like an inventory and clean out, and I just pulled all my makeup out. Like I said, I hadn't been using a lot of my makeup in the last year. And I remember a very particular instance where I pulled out a liquid highlighter that I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly how old it was, maybe 4 or 5 years old at that time. And I thought, hey, I haven't used this in a while, let's use it. And I put it on and it immediately started to like burn my skin. And I know for a fact I'd used it before and it hadn't done that, but it had clearly expired because it had been sitting there for multiple years and it was a cream product. So that was pretty eye-opening for me. It seems obvious that cream products expire faster, but I don't know, it wasn't really something I thought too much about. So now I try to be very aware of that. Again, that's also part of the reason I'm okay with having more eyeshadows, because they are powders and they're definitely gonna last longer than a lip gloss or a lipstick or a concealer. So I try to keep my cream product categories much lower than my powder products, specifically for that reason. I still have eyeshadows that are like 7 years old and they're working just fine. So if I like them and they're not irritating my eyes, I plan on continuing to use them. But when it comes to things like primers, concealers, lip products, I try to be very careful with those. So yeah, that has just kind of been my experience project panning for 7 years. I'm still doing it because I still enjoy it and I want to get good use out of my makeup collection. And I don't want to forget about the older items. I've kind of changed my ways along the years, but I enjoy it. I'm honestly afraid that if I stopped project panning, I might revert back to my old ways of makeup hoarding and letting things sit and expire. So at this point, I don't want to give it up for that reason. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I enjoy project panning. I just think it's fun and I really love makeup. Makeup is just, it's a fun thing for me. So yeah, check out the project pan playlist for my project pan videos. And like I said, I have a separate Shop My Stash playlist. And also, as I mentioned, I did film this full face of nothing new for my channel membership. So if you're interested, you can check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, let us know your thoughts on project panning and have a great day.